The silk of the imperial city was woven with gold, but its foundations were set in blood. In the year 655, in the heart of the Tang dynasty, the walls of the Forbidden City held a secret so dark it could curdle the wine poured for the gods. It was the sound of silence, the silence of two women who, only weeks before, had been queens, bathed in jewels and privilege. Now they were prisoners of velvet and shadow. This is the story of how an emperor's mistress turned into a serpent, and how two women, Empress Wang and Consort Xiao, were not just killed, but erased, transformed by a horrific, calculated act of pure evil. What happens when a human being, consumed by the thirst for ultimate power, decides that the most terrifying weapon is not the sword, but the body itself? Watch all the way to the end. There's so much valuable info waiting for you. Don't forget to subscribe, tap like, and share this video. Every bit of support helps our channel grow and inspires us to make even better videos for you. The air in the Forbidden City, in the Tang dynasty of ancient China, was thick with the scent of jasmine and danger. Empress Wang walked through her magnificent gardens, her silk robes rustling like dry leaves. She was the emperor's official wife, the mother of the nation, yet a cold knot of dread lived permanently in her stomach. Her life was a golden cage. From the outside, it was perfect power, respect, and luxury that no one else could touch. But on the inside, she felt the chill of being alone. Empress Wang had never given the emperor a son. In this world, a wife without a male heir was like a beautiful but empty vase. It held no true value. This single fact was a weakness that others, like predators, could smell from far away. Her greatest rival was not just another consort, but a woman named Wu Zhao. Wu Zhao had a past that was not as grand as the empress's. She had started as a very low-ranking servant of the emperor's father. But she was not like the other women. She was sharp, smart, and driven by a relentless fire. When she returned to the palace after a period away, she caught the eye of the new emperor, Gaozong. Wu Zhao was beautiful, but her real power came from her mind. She was a master player of the dangerous game called court politics. At first, Empress Wang was almost friendly with Wu Zhao. She was desperate to find allies because she was locked in a bitter struggle with another powerful woman, Consort Xiao. Empress Wang thought, foolishly, that she could use Wu Zhao as a weapon against Consort Xiao. She brought Wu Zhao closer to the emperor, thinking that the new favorite would only draw attention away from herself for a time. This decision was the first fatal crack in the empress's reign. She did not realize that she was not welcoming an ally, but a deadly, patient hunter into her home. Wu Zhao played her role perfectly. She was humble, respectful, and charming to everyone. But behind her gentle smile, a great plan was taking shape. She knew exactly what she wanted. Everything. And she knew exactly how to get it. Her goal was not just to replace the empress, but to destroy every obstacle and seize the ultimate power of the imperial court. The stage was set for a terrifying act of betrayal. Wu Zhao was not going to wait for power to be given to her. She was going to take it piece by careful piece. She understood the Emperor Gaozong deeply. He was kind, perhaps too kind, and easily swayed by strong emotions. He was also deeply committed to his new mistress, consort Wu Zhao, who had recently given birth to a beautiful baby girl. This child was the most important piece in Wu Zhao's dark puzzle. One afternoon, Empress Wang, following the traditions of the palace, visited consort Wu's quarters to see the newborn princess. The visit was brief and polite. Soon after the empress left, consort Wu returned to the nursery. What happened next is one of the most chilling and disputed moments in all of Chinese history, yet it served Wu Zhao's purpose perfectly. When the Emperor Gaozong came to see his daughter, he found her dead. She had been smothered. He was immediately heartbroken and furious. Wu Zhao, who was an expert actress, played the role of the devastated mother perfectly. She cried, she screamed, and then she subtly began to plant the seed of suspicion in the emperor's mind. "Who was the last person to be alone with my child?" she sobbed. "Who could be so cruel as to hurt an innocent babe?" The answer, whispered by servants who were loyal or scared into silence by Wu Zhao, was Empress Wang. The emperor's mind, clouded by grief and rage, accepted the accusation instantly. He was already frustrated with Empress Wang for her inability to give him a son and for her constant quarrels with Consort Xiao. Now he believed she was a murderer. This single, terrible act, whether Wu Zhao committed it herself or arranged it, was the turning point. It was the moment Wu Zhao moved from being a favorite mistress to an unstoppable force. The emperor was convinced that his official empress was capable of the darkest crime. He stripped Empress Wang of her title and ordered her arrest. Empress Wang and Consort Xiao, once bitter rivals, suddenly found themselves sharing the same terrifying fate. Both were locked away in separate, isolated wings of the palace. They had lost their power, their jewels, and their freedom. All the while, Wu Zhao stood tall, bathed in the new light of the emperor's favor, her path to the throne now clear. The golden cage had become a cold, stone cell, and the two women knew with chilling certainty that their punishment would not end with just imprisonment. The new favorite was simply too ruthless to leave any survivors who might one day seek revenge. Life within the cold, isolated cells was a daily torment for Empress Wang and Consort Xiao. They were queens in rags, given just enough poor food and water to keep them alive. Every day was a slow countdown to a brutal, unknown end. The guards kept watch, but they were silent, fearing the woman who had put them there, the new, powerful consort Wu. But Emperor Gaozong was not entirely a cruel man. He had been manipulated by Wu Zhao, but deep down, a part of him still remembered the years he had spent with Empress Wang and the genuine affection he once held for Consort Xiao. He began to feel a creeping regret. He hadn't seen the women since he ordered their imprisonment, and the silence from their locked rooms gnawed at his conscience. One day, filled with wine and a sudden wave of pity, the emperor decided to visit them. He walked down the long, shadowed hallways of the forbidden prison area. The heavy, iron door to the former Empress Wang's cell was locked. He asked the jailer to open it. When the heavy door swung open, the sight shocked him. Empress Wang, once radiant, was thin, pale, and covered in filth. She bowed low, trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "Your Majesty," she said, her voice catching. "If we have sinned, we are truly sorry. Please, remember our past years together." She then begged him, "Please, call me Mistress Wang, not Empress. Please forgive me, and let me and Consort Xiao leave this terrible place and live out our days in peace." The emperor was deeply moved. He saw not a hateful murderer, but a broken, repentant woman. He looked at the cell and promised her, "I will take care of this. Wait for my word." He left the prison with a heavy heart, the seeds of mercy beginning to bloom in his mind. He was seriously considering releasing them both from the capital and sending them away to live quietly. However, the emperor was a man who spoke too freely, and news travels faster than the swiftest horse in the imperial city. Within hours of the emperor's visit, the jailer, who was more loyal to the rising sun, Wu Zhao, than to the emperor's pity, sent a secret, urgent message to Consort Wu. When Consort Wu heard the news, her face went cold. A moment of mercy from the emperor was a catastrophe for her. If Empress Wang and Consort Xiao lived, they would always be a threat, a chance for the emperor to feel regret and, one day, turn against her. She knew that her rise to empress was nearly complete, but she could not leave any loose ends. The time for subtle manipulation was over. The time for final, absolute cruelty had arrived. The moment Consort Wu learned of the emperor's visit to the prison, her calculated calm snapped. She was now too close to the throne to allow sentimentality, especially the emperor's, to ruin her carefully laid plans. She knew she had to act immediately, before the emperor could change his mind and sign the order for the women's release. Wu Zhao, now operating with the full, terrifying authority of the future empress, did not ask the emperor for permission. She bypassed him completely, knowing that her command was now more feared and obeyed than his own. She called for the jailers and high-ranking officials who oversaw the imperial prison. Her voice was steady, yet it carried a weight of absolute, unforgiving power. "The emperor's pity is a weakness we cannot afford," she announced to the terrified men. "These two women, Wang and Xiao, are venomous snakes. They attempted to curse the emperor and harm the imperial line. If they are allowed to live, they will plot against the state and destroy us all." Her eyes, usually gentle and alluring, were now like chips of obsidian, cold and hard. She gave the men a terrifying order, an act of retaliation so extreme that it would forever mark her as one of history's most ruthless rulers. "Go to their cells," she commanded. "Cut off their hands and feet. Then, they are to be thrown into large vats of wine." She paused, letting the full horror of the command sink into the minds of the men who stood before her. She was not finished with her cruelty. "After that," she continued, her voice low and chilling, "if they somehow survive the wine, pour over them their waste and filth. Let them drown in a mixture of their own misery and the fermenting wine. They are to be known from this day forward not as Empress Wang or Consort Xiao, but as the human pigs." The officials, frozen in terror, dared not question her. This was not a simple execution. It was a psychological destruction, a complete removal of their humanity, ordered by a woman obsessed with control. The command was carried out immediately and without mercy. The screams of the two former queens echoed through the silent stone corridors, sounds that were quickly muffled and disappeared, replaced by a ghastly, liquid silence. This monstrous act was more than just murder. It was a message delivered to every single noble, minister, and courtier in the palace. It announced, in the most brutal way possible, that Wu Zhao was not just the emperor's favorite. She was the master of their lives, and she would crush anyone who stood in her way with a coldness that was truly unprecedented. The small, dark, stone room where the final horrifying torture took place became a chamber of absolute suffering. Empress Wang and Consort Xiao were subjected to the vile cruelty ordered by Wu Zhao. The wine vats were filled, and their bodies, mutilated and agonizingly alive, were submerged. The sight and the smell were unimaginable, a true picture of human misery designed to erase every shred of dignity they had once held. Consort Xiao was known in life for her spirited, fierce nature, and in these final, brutal moments, her spirit did not break. Though the pain was immense and her body was failing, she managed to use her last reserves of energy to curse the woman who had condemned them. She spoke to the ceiling, to the darkness, to the guards who watched in silent horror, making a terrible final promise. She cried out, "Wu Zhao, the human pig is a terrible thing, but I swear that in the next life, I will return as a cat, and you will return as a mouse. I will sink my claws into your throat. Let me be reincarnated as a cat, so I may scratch out your eyes. And let Wang return as a dog to assist me in your constant torment." This dying curse was powerful. In ancient Chinese belief, reincarnation and curses were serious matters, not to be taken lightly. It was a vow of eternal vengeance against the woman who had stripped them of their hands, their feet, and their lives. The guards reported every single word back to Wu Zhao, who, despite her terrifying power, was deeply superstitious. Empress Wang, weaker and more subdued, died soon after. Consort Xiao, despite her fierce vow, followed her quickly, finally silenced by the horrific conditions and the slow loss of life. They died alone, terrified, and utterly dehumanized, paying the ultimate price for losing the game of power in the Tang Dynasty court. Their bodies were not given a proper burial. They were disposed of secretly, as if they had never existed. Wu Zhao wanted no grave site, no place of memory, no lingering presence to remind anyone of the two queens she had destroyed. She wanted them utterly erased. When Wu Zhao heard the final reports of their deaths and the powerful curse, she became paranoid. Even in her triumph, she feared the supernatural threat. She knew that the people, and even some of the emperor's remaining family, would remember the horror of the human pigs. This was a dark victory, one stained with blood and the power of a desperate, final curse. With Empress Wang and consort Xiao brutally silenced, the path to absolute power for Wu Zhao was finally clear. The Emperor Gaozong, though perhaps disturbed by the savagery of her actions, was completely under her spell. He was weak, sickly, and relied heavily on her intelligence and decisiveness. Soon after the horrific torture, Wu Zhao was formally installed as the Empress of China. She was no longer a mistress or a concubine. She was the central figure of the entire Tang dynasty. As Empress, Wu Zhao proved to be one of the most capable, brilliant, and terrifying rulers in all of Chinese history. She wasn't content to simply be the emperor's wife. She actively participated in all political decisions. When Gaozong became too ill to rule, she effectively became the true leader of the empire, guiding every single policy from behind a curtain. Her rise was the end product of years of careful planning, ruthless manipulation, and one unspeakable act of cruelty. However, the ghost of her victims haunted her. Consort Zhao's curse, the vow to return as a cat, planted a deep, irrational fear in the newly crowned empress. Wu Zhao, despite her incredible intelligence, became intensely paranoid about cats. She banned them completely from the imperial palace. No cat was allowed to roam the grounds, and if one was discovered, it was immediately and violently removed. She could not escape the image of the scratching claws and vengeful eyes promised by her dying enemy. But the legacy of Empress Wang and consort Xiao was not just in Wu Zhao's fear of felines. It was in the fear she instilled in the entire court. Everyone knew the chilling story of the human pigs. Everyone understood that their new empress, the woman who would eventually rule China on her own terms, was capable of the most extreme, calculated violence. This fear became the foundation of her long and powerful reign. No one dared to challenge her, no one dared to speak ill of her, and no one dared to show any sympathy for her victims. Years later, after the Emperor Gaozong died, Wu Zhao did the unthinkable. She cast aside her own sons and took the throne herself, declaring a new dynasty. She became the only officially recognized female emperor in China's history, Wu Zetian. The story of Empress Wang and consort Xiao remains a horrifying reminder of the true cost of power. It shows the extent of political cruelty and betrayal possible when ambition is unchecked by morality. The two women started their lives in a golden cage, but they ended them in a vat of wine, a brutal sacrifice to the unstoppable will of a single, ruthless woman who changed the course of history through brilliant strategy and unimaginable, chilling violence.